So, like, what if this world is made and designed to keep women, anyone distracted from their sacred center? I want to explore this topic today about why feminine creative women feel extremely burnt out. And I want to also talk about ways that we can get back into creative flow. If you're a feminine creative being, you are automatically a divine feminine. Not many people like that word. I understand why. It's become very like trendy and like I think people misuse it a lot, but really what that means is like divine means like that you're whole, that your masculine and your feminine are in unison, they're married and they're working towards one vision and one goal. And when you're a divine feminine, you are naturally creative. That is what feminine being is. She naturally creates. There's two ways that you can create. You can create out of fear and programming, which is why we feel burnt out, which is why the system is designed to keep us constantly seeking externally. Or the second option is you can create out of love. You can create out of the fullness of you exuding the love that you have within. Now, in order to get there, in order to get to that point, there needs to be a acknowledgement of the fact that we live in a society that really tries to disconnect us. Because if you're a divine feminine, you are literally working with God to bring healing into the world through your creations. And it's not even maybe things that you're making. Maybe it's just your frequency. Maybe you walk into a room and you're just so full of light that it shifts the entire matrix. And so it's this notion that there's a very deep, strategic, and calculated reason why we're all feeling burnt out. And I mean, we have to go into the mind, into the garden of the mind, and look at our perception. And our perception, it comes from conditioning. It comes from societal conditioning, religious conditioning, just things that have been implanted in your subconscious unknowingly throughout your life that have shaped your view of reality. And so when we can detangle and look at all of the weeds, so to speak, all of the thoughts, all of the beliefs that are negative and limiting that are in our garden, we begin to pluck out the weeds, then our perception becomes clearer. Our perception becomes one of possibility rather than lack. And, you know, I'll take social media for example, because it's a really big one. I have a love-hate relationship with social media. I binge it and then I stop for a long time and then I binge it again and then anyways, still working on that. But if you look on social media, it's like a conglomerate of the collective psyche, and there's all kinds of weird stuff on there, but there's all types of really cool stuff and really amazing creators. But when we get to scrolling and things like that, then we start to compare. That's one way that the matrix or the patriarchy likes to keep us small, is through comparison. Right? And so if you're working on amping up your creative life force and you're working on connecting to your sacred center, one of the best things to do that I found is to stop social media for a period of time so that you can clear out your perception. You don't have to compare yourself if you're not scrolling. You can focus on what you're creating. And that brings me to my next point, which is vision. So if you don't have a vision, if you don't have a goal that you're wanting to materialize, that will keep us on the hamster wheel of constantly consuming rather than creating. And so having a vision as a creative feminine woman is so very important, and it's so very fulfilling. Life becomes a celebration when we have something to work towards. Other than that, we're just existing, right? So what is your vision? And it could be a creative business. It could be making your home beautiful. It could be redecorating a corner of your house. Whatever it is, there's short-term visions and long-term visions, and having a mixture of both keeps us alive. It keeps us creative. It keeps our juices flowing, so to speak, right? And so, but if we don't have that, then you can see how we can fall into the trap of just doom scrolling and comparing and never really getting anywhere, and never really using our natural, spiritual, creative gifts of imagination, of beauty, of creating something meaningful. We never get to use that if we don't have something to work towards. And that brings me to my next point, which is going within. If we don't, I mean, some people think that when I speak about going within, that it's escapism. I've heard that before. It's like, oh, you just want to escape reality. But no, it's actually extremely nourishing and extremely crucial for the feminine being to go inside and connect into her inner source, which is, well, there's two chambers. There's the heart chamber and then there's the womb chamber. And when they become in an alignment, that is when like vision is like very amped up for you. It's like your life force gets super illuminated, and a world of possibilities become awakened. We'll get into that later. So going within, having inward practices is extremely nourishing and crucial for us, because you can understand and know that like the external world, everything outside of us is made as a distraction, and that's how we get overstimulated and we don't know what to do, right? It's like there's so much going on. Like you go to a restaurant and then you see like so many choices. You're like, oh my God, I don't know what to get now. But if you go to like a really nice intentional restaurant, you'll see like there's only a few choices, and it makes it easier for us. There's not overstimulation, if that makes sense. So when we go within, we're able to recalibrate to the truth that we are the source of our own pleasure, of our own joy, of our own beauty, of our own life force. And we get to call on our energy back and sink in. And in that meditative space, you can better hear the voice of the divine on what it is that you're actually wanting to create. And you use the body as a tool to understand that. And that brings me to my next point, which is pleasure, right? So as a feminine being who is creative, our pleasure is medicine. And it doesn't always have to be sexual. Pleasure can be erotic innocence. And it's really about feeling what feels good to the body without performing for anybody. And when you think of a vision, and when you're in that meditative state and you think of a vision and you notice how your body responds to it, that's the clue of whether or not you're truly wanting to bring that into fruition. Because a lot of times we have goals or aspirations that are not truly our own, and when we sit deeply with them without any distraction and we really feel into that, we'll notice our body responds differently. Maybe our heart closes, or maybe like we start to shrink. And we have to really see if that's a fear of the unknown, or the fear of wanting to expand, or if it's actually truly we don't actually really want that desire. We don't really want that. Maybe there's a subconscious program that we've had from someplace else that implanted in our psyche, and we're chasing a goal that is not truly aligned for us. And so when we go into these practices, like we begin to refine these skills as feminine creative beings, and we get to sit with what it is that we're calling in and really feel into the frequency, because everything starts with imagination first. Everything starts in that, I'll say, think tank and that creative chamber of divine inspiration and imagination. And so we develop these skills when we're in feminine practice, and we're able to see what's truly aligned for us in that space. And the next piece of the puzzle is when we have our vision and we're gaining clarity on it, because it's always going to be refined, by the way. You think of a vision as like a seed, and the more you go into the divine imagination chamber, we'll call it, like the feminine realm, which is the inward realm, and you tap into the seed and you feel into it during practices, right? This seed begins to open up sort of like an energetic communication with you. Like you're able to feel into the seed, and then the seed begins to send energy and information back to you, and then you can refine the seed later. The seed is always editable. Is that a word? You can always change the seed. You can cancel the seed. You can edit the seed at any time. Your visions are always going to be changing, always going to be refining, and that's the beauty of it. because it always gets crystal clear, more clear. And through that process of refinement, there is all of this emotion that will come up when you're working with the seed. There's going to be fear. And fear is a very, very helpful tool because it shows us where our potential is. It's like, oh, there's a block there, and let me go towards it, because that's going to clear a lot of the pathways, and it's going to help bring the seed into fruition, into the physical, much more quicker. If we don't go towards that fear of being seen, the fear of whatever it is, the doubt, the negative self-talk, maybe the criticism, whatever it is, if we don't see that, illuminate that within our psyche, and push past it, gently push past it, and take aligned action towards that, then the seed will not come into fruition, and our vision won't manifest, right? It won't crystallize, it won't materialize. And so it's a very important feedback loop when we're in practice to see these things come up in these emotions, right? And as we're working with the seed, it takes time for it to come down, right? It takes time for it to number one, awaken within you, and it takes time to actually take action in the physical towards it in order for it to materialize. And so in that process, there's also going to be shit happening like in your life, like, you know, things that don't match the frequency of the seed, so to speak, and you're going to have to alchemize that. And that's another power that we have as feminine beings, like the ability to alchemize emotion and turning pain into power, into fuel, into creative fuel, right, into blessings. So, you know, having a beautiful, sacred, intentional container in like a ceremonial space is so very wonderful for the feminine creative, because when and where are we going to get the time to alchemize our pain into power, right? I mean, we don't really have spaces like that. And so this is what I've created. And so if you're interested in learning more, if you're interested in awakening the seed within, the divine seed that maybe you are unaware that you have, but everyone has one and they have multiple, then you can click the link to my inner garden meditation and start the process of really asking yourself what it is that you want to create. And stay tuned for more, because I'm going to be talking more about emotional alchemy, more about divine feminine, more about creative life force energy, about flow state, all kinds of fun stuff, materialization, vision creation, spiritual beauty. I'm just really excited for this channel, and I'm so glad I made this video. And I'll just say this, I had a fear of making this video because I was for a long time I was in like a little creative cocoon, and I was creating on the back end and making the structures and all of that type of stuff, but I was having a fear of being seen. And I'm so glad I have no makeup on. I was just like, I'm gonna shoot this on the fly, let's just do exposure therapy and see what happens. And I'm so glad I made this video. So this is my first video on YouTube, and there's more to come. Thank you for watching. My name is Olivia Michelle. I'm a sacred ceremonialist. I do online, immersive, deeply intimate spaces for women to connect into their divine imagination, their intuition, and awaken their life force energy to create a vision to manifest in this world. So thank you for watching.